Huge welcome to today's webinar. It's called the Advanced Delibr webinar. It's not going to be too advanced, but hopefully you will learn something. I'm your host, André, and a little bit about me before we start is I'm the head of sales, customer success over at Delibr. I've been here for 2.5 years roughly, so I've had the fantastic opportunity to coach a lot of you guys that are in the audience today during these 2.5 years. And what I want to say with this is primarily that my schedule is open if you need any help, coaching, or just brainstorming about the product or generally about product management. My email is andre.donto@delibr.com. So maybe it's you yourself that want to chat with me. Maybe you have a team that you think could use some guidance. No matter what, I'm here to support as best as I can. So feel free to reach out to me if you want any further help. So let's dig into the agenda. What will we learn today? So we're going to start off by looking at what I call the Archetypal Refinement Process, which is what it sounds like. It's a process for refinement that is quite archetypal. And we're going to look at 4 stuff: collaborating with executive stakeholders, how to embed designs and analytics in Delibr, how to best collaborate with operational stakeholders, and I'm also going to throw in QA in Delibr and what benefits it can have and how it can look. And then, of course, if there's any questions from the audience, feel free to write them directly into the chat, and I will pick them up as we go. So without any further ado, let's get into the archetypal refinement process. For those of you who have read Niels Janse's book, Epic Refinement, you have seen this before because I think it's on page 27 in the book. And archetypal refinement process, let's see if I can do this. No, there we go. It is so we basically looked at over 300 product teams and how they were refining, and this is the map of what type of activities typically happen during refinement, who are involved, and we try to map it out. So for instance, we have ideation, prioritization, discovery, refinement, development, testing, and of course the iteration and optimization loop here. And what we're going to look at today is then the first one is tips for collaborating with executive stakeholders. So this is typically what happens in the earlier stages of the refinement. So we're going to be jumping in back and forth here between the presentation and me sharing my screen when we are working in the real world, so to speak. So I will jump over to Delibr. Collaborating with executive stakeholders. What does that mean? Who are they? Well, they're people just like you and me. Maybe you are an executive stakeholder, but what typically sets them apart is that they have very little time available. They're in meetings constantly. And when we write structured, detail-rich documents, which sometimes happens in Delibr, they are not interested in reading all of that. They want concise, short information readily available. So there is a few things. I'll open up one of the documents that I have prepared here. It's called the shopping cart feature. And I'll show you a couple of ways to make sure that you can give the information that is relevant to the person that you want to receive that information. So first of all, this document is big. It has a lot of information in it. So it starts with a checklist, goes down into describing the problem. It has some charts and some analytics. We're going to look at that later, and some user stories and design files. So sending this entire document to a stakeholder would probably prompt them to be a little bit angry, and they wouldn't even read the document. So what it'll do is, this is actually a tip. So if you, now I have expanded all the bullets in Delibr. If you hold down Shift, the keyboard, and then you click here, expand to show level 1, it will collapse all the bullets or all the levels in the document. So now that we open up the problem to solve, you can see that this is collapsed, and then yeah, you get it. Everything is collapsed. So that's a little bit of a trick that I throw in here. But let's say that we have certain parts of this document that are relevant for someone to look at. For instance, the problem to solve. I know that this entire section is relevant. Then I can zoom in, double clicking on the icon. I can expand everything in here. I'll jump back using the breadcrumb. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Like this. Yeah, exactly. So now it's expanded. And maybe we can go down to user stories, just expand that as well. But everything else in this document is still hidden. And now we can use the native print functionality together with the PDF converter to create a PDF out of this and send it to someone. So you could choose if you want to have it as an outline mode, or if you want to go to styled mode to get it a little bit more styled. And then you have the print functionality in here. You click it open, you select export as PDF, and then you export it, send it to the stakeholder, maybe together with a link to the documents that they can go in and actually make some adjustments. So this will make sure that everything that you have kept collapsed will be collapsed once you send it over as a PDF. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is if you're in a meeting with people and you want to look at a specific part of the document, you want everyone to look at the same thing, there's a functionality called present mode in Delibr that you can use. So you just open up this menu by clicking on these three dots, go to present. This will prompt this present bar to open, and this will indicate what you are presenting right now. Take a look at that later. But what I will do is I will click here just to open up and look at how the presentation looks. So this you can send to the people that are attending the meeting. This is the link to the presentation. And then you're sitting inside of the Delibr document and you can steer what is being presented. So imagine that this is a meeting, you're going to present the shopping cart feature, and you're going to start with the problem to solve, for instance. We can then click, open it up, click on the screen here. We see that this is what is now being shown. And then you can say, so let's start by looking at the problem to solve. We got a summary, research, approach, and measure of success. We're going to first look at the summary. So the summary, when you click, is yada, yada, yada. So it basically takes the part of the document that you want to, turns it into slides in real life or in instantly that you can use in presentations. We use this a lot when we are looking at documents together now that we're all working remote, and it works really well. So I'm not going to dwell too long on that. I'm going to end this presentation, and we're going to move over to the next part, which was working with design and working with analytics inside of Delibr. So let's jump back here. Obviously, you can, for instance, if you're working with designs, you can insert screenshots, static images into Delibr, but sometimes you don't want to do that because they can become obsolete if something is changed in the original design. So in Delibr, we have a couple of, or we have one integration, but it works for multiple tools. It's called iFrames. That enables you to attach and embed designs directly into Delibr documents that will actually get updated as they are updated in the original tool. So I will just create two bullets that are designs and analytics here. Let's make them bold just for the sake of it. And I'll show you how it works. So we are using Figma as our main design tool, but if you're using InVision or any other web-based design tool, it works as good as this. But what you will do is you will go /. If you're using Figma, you can search for Figma. We have a special Figma link here. If you're not using Figma, you can go iFrame, and we get the embed here that you can use. The good thing about the Figma is that, I'll open it up here, is that when you paste a link here, it doesn't need to be the actual embed link, because we've been smart about trying to make that link so that even if you paste just the URL, it will work, and we will redo it a little bit for you. So I'll open up Figma here just to show you. So here we have a Figma project. If we want the entire project to be linked in the Delibr document, we just copy the URL, go back to Delibr, paste it in, and we embed this link. And now, hopefully, we should be able to see, yeah, exactly, the entire Figma project here with all the designs. Sometimes, though, something like this, we only want one of the frames in Figma. And then you just click on the frame that you want. The URL changes. We select this, jump back to Delibr, go Figma/Figma, enter, paste the link, embed it, and now hopefully we get just that frame that we looked at before. Yeah, we do. And then you can do it like this. This, like I said, it works for InVision, for Sketch, for all of the web-based design systems. But if you're using anything else, use the /iframe or /embed instead, because it will not. I think it will not work for if you use the Figma one. So this is pretty good to know. And yeah, like I said, so if stuff changes in Figma, they will automatically update here as well. Now, you can actually use this functionality in conjunction with the functionality that already exists in Delibr. We use this a lot. I think it's really cool. It, of course, works with screenshots as well. But if we imagine that, let's actually close this one down. Imagine that we have two designs of something, and we want to reason a little bit around it in a Delibr document. So let's say that this is one design and this is the other design. I'm just gonna select it and get it into Delibr. All right, embed it. So now we have two frames here. And let's say that we have a question that is, what design should we use? Use the multi-option question type in Delibr. Now we can actually move both of these into the question and make them options. And now we can have the team open the rate functionality, for instance, and rate these two competing designs directly in Delibr. So maybe I didn't like this design much. I like this a lot. And the rate functionality allows you to add pros and cons directly into the document as well from here. So maybe we have a pro here, way better contrast, for instance. We add it. I think this is very relevant for this one. And then we exit. And now you can see the ratings of the combined ratings of everyone that is rated and how many have rated out here. So this is a really nice way of using the iFrames or just the inserting image together with the question type bullets in Delibr. We can make a decision. All this doesn't really work, but we'll see here. This is the one that we chose. So yeah, a good way of using that. And then quickly wanted to look at just another example, which is analytics. So let's pretend that we're using MetaBase for our analytics. So this is a dashboard I just threw up. It's not active yet, but demo bookings in Q3 hasn't started yet. The same goes for here. You can from MetaBase, you can just copy the public link, and then in Delibr we go /embed. Use this one, paste the link, and you get the MetaBase dashboard directly here. So this is quite good. For instance, if you're working on feature documents like this, we typically put it in the problem to be solved, and then we have a measure of success section up here, and this is where the MetaBase corresponding MetaBase dashboard will live, just to keep track of the KPIs in real time when we develop the product. To have it there, it's pretty neat. Yes, I'm going to delete these because I don't know. Well, actually, that's interesting. So if you want to delete entire sections with subsections quickly, you go Control-Shift-Delete. So level 1, level 2, and now I go Control-Shift-Delete, and it deletes the first one and everything else below. It's also a good keyboard shortcut to keep down. Cool. So that was the second part. The third part, tips for sharing with operational stakeholders. So this is a mini nugget, but I think it's good to know nonetheless. So operational stakeholders, they're typically more involved in collaborating with the document, but also important that they don't get overwhelmed with cognitive overload of a lot of information in documents. So there's two things that I want to talk about. One is that, for instance, if you're working on a document or you're collaborating in a document, you want them to look at a certain part of the document, you can actually create special links that takes the person into a specific part of the document. And to do this, there's two ways. One is that you can, if you want them to look at the problem to be solved section here, you can click, you can go to more, and then you can copy bullet link. And by doing this, we open up a new tab and we go and paste that link. What will happen is if they have access to the document, which I hope they have, when they click that link, they will come into the Delibr document, but they will be zoomed in to that specific section. And then they can start to look from here. So that's something that I myself use quite often, just to make it easier for people to find where I am working in the document and then start work together. And then, of course, they can zoom back out to the bigger document and start working from there. And the second one is fairly obvious, but it's just at mentioning someone. If you're not in real time, but you want to just mention them, at mention in the comment section, choose the person you want to at mention, Wilson, write him a little message, please review this section, and then you post it. And that will be an at mention. He will get an email. By clicking the link in the email, he will come into this. We will highlight it like this with yellow. And then you can also make it an assignment if you want them to actually have to complete something, add an image to this or whatever. At mention or assignment. So those are super quick ways of making sure that operative stakeholders or collaborators are involved easy in the document. And now we're going into the last part. I'm running a little bit over here, but it's the QA documents that I find really interesting. It's something that we started to collaborate ourselves with not so long ago, but it has been hugely helpful to us. So basically, what we did is, or a little bit of background stories. At Delibr, everyone in the company are allowed and encouraged to participate in QA sessions. Every sprint, we QA together. Not everyone does it, but they're encouraged to. And we found it hard to, have a place where people could understand what has been done in the sprint. How am I going to test that these tickets have been built in the correct way, and where do I add comments? So our CTO Eric, he created a template that we're now using. I'll open this template up. So this template basically has 4 sections. One is for just instructions. This is how to QA stuff, important for everyone new. And then we have the tickets that needs to be reviewed. We have bugs, improvements, stories, and tasks, because those are the types of tickets that we have in our Jira. And each section, then the tech lead goes in. He links the Jira ticket, writes the name of it. And then if there's any steps to reproduce it or anything that we should know, he puts that as a sub bullet, and we'll look at the example later. And then we can come in and we can start looking at that, testing it on the QA servers, and getting our input into this document. And then we also have bugs found during the review that doesn't fit into any of the tasks that were completed. And that's actually one of the really big benefits of this, is that now we're finding other bugs that were not intended to be found during the review, and we have a way of reporting them instantly to the tech team. They can distinguish if it's works as intended or if it's indeed a bug, and then they can mention us and really collaborate continuously in this document form, which is fantastic. And then use reply points if there's someone that has something that they think could be improved, or that they want to raise as something that went really good during the review. So this is the document. I will just exit this, and then I actually created just an example very quickly. This is how it would look. So if we have done one bug in the sprint, it would be linked to the Jira issue, so that because the Jira issue typically entails more information, and that comes if it's not a bug. Bugs typically don't have a Delibr document, so that will be the description field in the bug. But if it is a user story that's part of an epic that we have defined in a Delibr document, then that would have all of that information from that Delibr document linked from the ticket. So then you can open up the Jira ticket, you can see everything. And then, yeah, there's basically steps to reproduce, how to test this, a little bit of information. And then there's a section for comments from the testers. So in this case, this is an actual bug that we fixed in the last sprint. Small width hides the comment box. And Niels, our founder, he went in and he found that the highlighting goes outside of the paper. So he reported that. And then I think in the original document, our QA team started commenting and getting involved in here as well. But yeah, this is something that has helped us get more QA people involved, or get the entire company involved. It helps us that are not involved in the sprints to understand what has been built, how it works, and it's been a massive help. So this there's no template for it yet. I can send it to you if you see this as a recording or right now. I'll be happy to send it to you. But otherwise, yeah, just create a structure for it and start using it. I think it's fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for attending. Have a good day. Bye.